Well, good morning, everybody. This is Bobbyjon Bauman from the Ask Bobbyjon Show. I'm very, very excited today. I have a special guest that is just a phenomenal woman of God who's doing great things here in the community, Paula Stevens. And I guess I met her initially through her son Christian, who was a part of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes Bible study that met at Big Red High School. I was very impressed with his evangelistic zeal, and he would bring a number of kids to the meetings. He would, at times, even bring in enchiladas and things like that in the morning, or burritos or something, and it definitely drew a crowd. And I assume you probably made those, Paula, maybe.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then I had Christian share his testimony at one of our storytellers nights and did just a phenomenal job sharing about his spiritual life, how he came to know the Lord, and the highs and lows of walking with Christ. And so, but fast forward, she also began helping out with the Sunshine Bible Club, which we have here in Steubenville, and which meets every Monday from 2:30 to 4 o'clock, and her girls help out as well with that. And we just started having a conversation about the new Sycamore Center that we're going to be taking over very soon, which is going to be a youth and community center here in Steubenville to reach out to area youth, but for anyone who wants to come, but specifically those who are under-resourced and oftentimes can't afford lessons for music or sewing or acting or sports or whatever it might be, as well as those who come from homes that are more difficult in nature and don't have anything to do after school. So we're really trying to reach out to those kids with the love and grace of God, with trusted adults that are going to be able to minister with the love and grace of God and pour into their lives, so that these kids will desire to live lives that will thrive, because the Bible says that Jesus came to give life and came to give it to you abundantly. And so we're looking for these kids to have abundant lives. And a lot of times they don't see the vision of what they could be, because they see either a lot of them don't have any parents and they'll stay with a grandparent, or if they do, maybe one of them's gone, or maybe the one that is there is on drugs or whatever it might be. And so they haven't seen real good role models. So we're looking to be those role models who model Christ to them, so that in the future they will have lives where they grow up to love the Lord, and also just be good, solid people, productive, are able to get jobs. The gifts that God has given them, they'll be able to use for the glory of the kingdom, and really thrive in life rather than struggle. I also want to just give a couple of announcements before I get into the questions for Paula here. First of all, on March 15th at 6:30 p.m., we are bringing in, the Ohio Valley Youth Network is bringing in Julie Elias, and she was formerly on CSI New York as well as on Grey's Anatomy. She's an actress, and then she started getting into Christian music, and now she does praise and worship concerts, and she will be playing at a concert which will be free of charge at Crossroads in Wintersville on March 15th at 6:30 p.m. So I'd encourage you to come out, bring your kids especially. She really does a good job with them. Also, a part of the reason we're bringing her in is to speak to the public schools. And so she's going to be be able to share her story at Big Red High School, at Harding Middle School, at Indian Creek High School, and Indian Creek Middle School. So she's going to be able to share her story with over 2,000 kids. So God, by His grace, has just opened the door for that to happen. So definitely be in prayer for Julie and for that event upcoming soon. And also on March 11th, there's a gentleman who's going to be sharing his testimony at Brentwood United Methodist Church as a part of the Steered Straight program. He was addicted to drugs, there was just a very disordered background that he is involved in, but by the love and grace of God, his life was completely turned around. Now he goes to all the public schools in the area. He'll be at Edison, Big Red, Harding, Indian Creek as well, and he's going to share his Christian testimony and give a meeting at 6:30 p.m. on Sunday night, March 11th at Brentwood United Methodist Church in Wintersville. So if you'd like to come out to that, you're welcome to as well. Enough for the announcements. We're really looking forward to talking to Paula. So the first question I have for you, Paula, is Just share with me your spiritual journey.
My spiritual journey.
Yeah, or your testimony, or how you came to know the Lord.
Well, it really began as a child. We were always brought to church. One of my aunts or a family member would take us to church, so we were familiar with going to church on Sundays, but not living it throughout the week. It wasn't until, well, there are many times that I can remember that I think about that I know that God was there. I know He was seeking me. I know that He was wanting me, and I would resist, and I would turn away, and I'd walk away, and just really more because I felt unworthy. I would see Christian girls walk around. I would see families together, and I would think, wow, that's just beautiful. And I'm not worth it. It's not for me. He wouldn't want me. He wouldn't. That's not me. But I always had that connection. I knew He was there. I knew who He was, and it wasn't till later in life, my son Christian, the one that you just spoke of, he was about 7 years old, and he started having nightmares. And he would tell us about these nightmares, and we had just moved to Wyoming, and we found a family that was in a church there. And they started going to Awana at that church. And it was wonderful. It was a wonderful program, and we met a lot of beautiful people. And I got to sharing with the pastor there about Christian's nightmares. And he says, well, this is something real. This is not of this world. This is a spiritual warfare. So he sat down with Christian, and he talked with them. And eventually Christian came up to us and said that he wanted to be baptized. He wanted to give his life to Christ because he knew that God was the only one that could protect him. And as a parent, I felt like powerless. I thought, that's my job. My job's to protect you and take care of you. And all of a sudden, here he is 8 years old later. He's 8 years old. And we're having a meeting with the pastor because it doesn't take it lightly. He wants to make sure that the child knows what they're doing, what is involved, the commitment they're about to make, that they understand. And I was sitting there with them, and as Christian was talking with him, he told me, yes, I know what I'm doing. I know who God is, and I want Him in my life, and I want to live for Him, and I know He's going to be the one to protect me and take care of me. And
That's
right
beautiful.
then and there, I spoke up. I said, I do too. I want to give my life to God because
that's great.
I know that there is no way and there is nothing I can do on this earth to protect my son the way God can. And there's no way that I could love my son the way he needs to be loved the way God can. And I know it has to be through Him. And at that time, I didn't know how, but I just knew it had to be through Him. So at that moment, Christian and I officially gave our life to Christ. We got baptized a couple of days later. And about a year later, Craig surrendered, and Olivia, my daughter, also gave her life to Christ. And from then on, we just continued on our walk. So it's been a while, and it's been interesting, but it's been fantastic.
That's wonderful. I've heard stories similar to that before, where the child, in a sense, brings their parents to Christ. It is rare, but it does happen, and I find that fascinating. As the Bible says, "And a little child shall lead them." And I guess in a sense, that's what the Lord did with Christian, and that's just beautiful. How the Lord used even the nightmares were in God's providence to lead him to want to find the safety in God, and so that's a beautiful testimony. When you grew up, and I'm just asking these questions because we have a lot of parents listening in today. Were your parents a support to you in your teen years, and if so, what lessons did you learn from them that you strive to put into practice today?
My parents have always been very supportive of encouraging us to get an education, to do what we were good at. My dad's favorite or not favorite, but the one thing I always remember him saying is, you can do this. You can conquer the world. And he always made you feel like it. Like, he always just made you feel like you could just conquer the world. And my mom was encouraging us with education. You know, through education, you're going to be able to go places and do things. You know, without education, you're going to have to work so much harder. My mother was a migrant worker when she was young. She worked in the fields in Texas, and that's all she ever wanted was an education. She wanted to get out of the fields and her family out of the fields, and eventually they did, but not till she was an adult.
Can you just fill me in on what you mean by the fields? It was a manual labor, you're saying, in the fields?
They were migrant workers, so what they did was they followed the crop. They would follow in South Texas area and California. They would work in the fields in picking cotton, amongst other things. They were young. They were 8 years old, 7 years old.
Oh, wow.
There were times when they would sleep in their vehicles. There were times when they slept in the camps. They have a big family, and my grandparents loved them. But that's what they knew. That's where they were. That's where they came from. My mom was so determined to have more and do more, and it was her father speaking into her, saying that she was going to be educated, and she was going to leave the fields, and she was going to do more. It's so funny because even at one time, she shared with us that she marched with Cesar Chavez to, and was arrested with the whole rest of the group. But they took a stand for what the people needed, what needed to be done, what was right, in a good way. And they were productive. You know, they got better places to stay and water in the camps and things like that were there to help them to make it better. So that's what I meant by her being a migrant worker until she was in high school, I think, and graduated, and then eventually graduated, and then went to college later in adult life. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I've just very humble beginnings, and just I guess picking cotton, and next thing you know, she just had that hard work and that determination that was spoken into her life by her dad, and I can see that in you as well, how you worked out the Sycamore Center, which we'll get to in a minute. But that's a great blessing, the blessing of hard work and encouragement and education, and so that's wonderful.
It is. The other side of that would be my father. He has always worked in the oil field since he was young, and he is just so amazing. He is so creative, and I really believe that's where I get my creativity from. He's a phenomenal welder, and he would create and do these amazing things with his hands. And he would always just encourage me and my sisters to learn to do. We didn't have any brothers, so we learned to work in vehicles and work with tools, and we also learned to be Daddy's little girl. He loved us abundantly. But he always encouraged us to be creative, to use what we had to do good. And that's, I think, more of the side that I fall in. I love working with my hands. I love being creative. I love making something out of nothing. I love having a vision for what is broken and giving it new life, making something good out of it, something useful.
Well, would you like to share a little bit, because I recall that you had mentioned that you restored a gas station. Would you share a little bit about that?
Yes, I will. That's really interesting, and that's what got me connected to the Sycamore Center, what got my attention. When we were in Texas, we were in the oil field, and it a couple of years ago, it hit really hard. A lot of companies started shutting down, and so we had a lot of time on our hands. My dad was having a shop. We started making things in the shop, just out of scrap, whatever was around there, we'd create things, make things, and eventually little things started selling. And then people wanted more things. But at the same time, we were scraping pennies to keep the lights on and, pay bills. And we were like, well, this is great. Let's do this and make extra money. As encouraging as my dad always is, he's like, well, you should open a store, or you should move forward in this. You should make it something. And I'm like, well, okay, Lord, if this is your will, I need a building. And I need a building for free because I can't afford one right now. Lo and behold, a couple days later, one of my mom's friends calls me and says, hey, I have this building, come take a look at it. If it's something that you can use, it's yours for free.
Wow,
It was just crazy, and I was just like, I'm free right now, let's go take a look at it.
that's awesome.
So my husband and I went over, and it was an old gas station there in our hometown. It was run down. It looked like it was ready to be condemned. At one point, they had made a movie in that gas station. I can't remember the movie, but so they had switched it up from a Golf to some other gas station. So we walked through the gas station. It was all boarded up, and the gentleman that owned it before had the same intentions. He wanted to create things and sell them. So it was pretty interesting seeing all his little things around the building. We walked outside to take pictures of the building, and I was looking through my camera, and as I looked at the camera, I could see this glowing cross. It was a light, and I would put down the camera, and I didn't see it, and then I'd look at the camera again, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So I called Craig over, and I said, you gotta look at this. And so he looked at the camera, and he's like, there's a cross. And I said, right, it just stands out. And when you put the camera down, you don't see it. That's all I needed. Mm-hmm. I was like, only God would put a free building in my hands. Only this was a sign that I needed to move forward. How I was going to do it, I had no idea. But I had to. So eventually we began working on the building, and it took my family there, it took friends there, we had contractors there. Little by little, with the city's help, we eventually got the building up and going. Not to its original state, but pretty close. And then we began our store there. We sold repurposed furniture, we repainted furniture, we reupholstered furniture, and the doors were open. In about a year and a half, we got the doors open, and we had our grand opening, and it was fantastic. So, hearing the story of a building being gifted out of nowhere and for nothing is just, that God's hand was on that. It was just amazing, and to hear that story again here in Steubenville was like, oh my goodness, what are the odds?
Kind of like a deja vu, right?
Yes, it was just like, I got to be a part of this.
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful. You had shared with me, you had kind of a, even though you're committed to do it in terms of helping out with being the project manager of moving forward with the Sycamore Center and helping fix it up, decorate it, and just kind of being in charge of getting the building up to the point where it's usable and to do so with class and distinction. You kind of had a moment you shared with me at the benefit dinner a few weeks ago that really solidified things. You want to share a little bit about that, where it just, you said, yes, this is right. I'm in the right place. I should be doing this.
If it's the one about prayer, because God has just been pouring all over this. Just there's been so many moments, but
well, I remember you can share about that as well. You had said as soon as you saw the kids come up and sing.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm going to do this without crying, I hope.
Okay.
So at the benefit, when we had spoke about the building before, to me it was a project. To me it was something I knew how to do and I could do, and I knew it was for a good cause. Because what I was currently doing just felt vain. At the dinner, we sat up close to the stage, and the kids started coming up one by one, and they started singing, and I was amazed at how beautiful their voices were. Like, I just couldn't believe it. And I think it was by the second singer, maybe the third, I just had this moment where I felt God speaking to me and saying, these are my children. I need you to build something great for them. Amen. And I'm just like, Lord, I was just going to paint some walls. And, as one and one came, another one came up, it was just, these are my children. They are doing great. things, and I need you to build a great stage for them. I need a platform for them to show what I have gifted with them, for them to share. It just moved me so much because it went from painting a building to building a home for these kids. It went from painting a building to building a stage for these children to show how beautiful God is and what God has done in us and what He has given us. It is a stage to honor and glorify Him through these children. It made that connection, and that's what it really took a shift for me. It went from just, like I said, a plain building to doing something great for God and for His children. And now I'm even more excited. Now I can't even wait to see the kids in there utilizing the place and doing what God created them to do, and sing and be beautiful and just be children.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. I just as I had referred to it a couple other times, I just want it to be a beehive of activity with just all kinds of different programs, ministries, and it isn't necessarily just going in there and studying the Bible. I mean, we're looking to have sewing classes. And also, actually yesterday I talked with Patrick Lemasters, and he's going to utilize the facility for a Christian martial arts program. Also, we're going to have a young entrepreneurship program. We're going to have a drama program that's going to be putting on The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe in the sanctuary area, which is just gorgeous. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, it's just breathtaking. When I walk in there, I just, even being in there, 20 times, it still strikes me of its beauty. Just a very classy, and it really just lifts your heart, to God when you even walk in the sanctuary doors. And then you also are looking to possibly do a carpentry and/or furniture, or woodworking and/or furniture restoration class. Is that true?
It is. I want to start a class, and I don't know how it's going to work yet, but I know, and I've realized that what I do is pure vision, pure creation, pure hands-on. It's not something I went to school for. It's something that was shared with me through my dad, encouraging me and inspiring me to be who I am and to do what I love, and be good at it. Not to try to do or follow someone else's path or be like someone else, but to be yourself. God created us for greatness, and that's something I tell my kids all the time. God created you for greatness. He's got a plan for you. He's got a purpose for you that only you can walk, that only you can do, that no one else can do. And in these clubs or things that are going to be happening in the center, this is going to be a chance for a lot of these children to explore their gifts that God gave them. A lot of them don't even know that they have them. A lot of them are going to be surprised at what they can do when they're shown just a little bit. And I'm excited to see how far a lot of these children are going to take it. I remember being little and seeing my grandmother sew. Who would have ever known that I'd be sewing? Mm-hmm. I'd be creating, I'd be crafting. And I think it's such a beautiful way to express what God gave you, what your gift was. I mean, He was the ultimate creator. I think of this all the time. He created the world. He created the colors. He created everything, and He created us to create. And it's amazing, and it's beautiful. And through these programs, each child is going to learn and find their place in what they love and what they're going to learn to use to express themselves in God's way throughout their life.
Amen.
Well,
in a couple other, you had mentioned the sewing, and also we're going to have art classes there as well. We're going to have somebody teach dance also, maybe a step dance team or a flag dance team. We're probably going to call it a creative dance program. We have a gentleman, Matt Hill, who's going to, he's putting together a program, or actually already has it going, but he's going to relocate it to the Sycamore Center, which is called the Dream Big Music Program, where they give free music lessons on band instruments, and then put a band together, and then they go out and do concerts. I mean, there's just so many beautiful things that are going to just come out of that center. And the thing that I've found is that when people find that they're moving and living in, I guess, working in their gifts, or they're able to express themselves in the gifts that God gave them in their vocation or with their time, it's just that's when they're content. I mean,
Yes.
when I walk into the Sycamore Center and I see you, just your face lights up, because I know that you're in the will of God, because God made you to do this and you're doing it. And I don't know if you've been out of God's gifting of what you're doing. I've been there, working in factories, stuff like that, and I'm nothing wrong with that. But God made me for a certain purpose, and it took a while, but I've found my purpose as well as working with youth, doing Bible studies and doing creative ministry, doing concerts and doing outreach with youth. And but I found that that's what God made me to do. So I'm very content in that, and it's a joy-filled life. And with you, with your creative gifts, now you're doing that. With the Sycamore Center, you're pulling kids together to come in. Your children are there, and Bailey was there on Saturday, and you just see that vision, and it's like a tunnel vision. You're just wanting to see that get done. But I want to make sure that I give you the opportunity to share just a little bit about the building in and of itself, how you're going to restore it. And we only got about 4.5 minutes. And then also about ways that somebody could specifically get a hold of you if they wanted to help out with their youth ministry or individuals.
Okay, so the church in itself right now, as I said before, it's beautiful. It's in really good condition. The majority of the work is scraping walls, painting, putting down carpet, and then designing the rooms around the activities that will be held in the building. So it's not huge construction, demo. All it takes is your time. If you don't know how, we'll show you how. A lot of people is what it's going to take to get these rooms painted. They're huge.
Yeah.
They're big. Here soon, we're going to be getting a dumpster out there just so we can get the existing debris out of the building that we don't want or need. We're going to utilize and repurpose a lot of the furniture that is already in there. With that being said, we are also looking for new furniture for the kids' areas. We're looking for TVs for their studies and games and hangout time. We need labor in moving that heavy furniture around,
Yep.
getting a lot of the debris out, and then, like I said, back to painting and the flooring. So it's really simple labor. It's going to be fun. We're going to work in groups, and it should move very quickly.
Now, if I was a youth director of a church, and as well as I was going to mention, we'll take civic groups. We'll take anybody who wants to pick up a brush. I mean, so we're not saying that it has to be a church group. I mean, if you have
Right.
the Key Club wants to come out, or your local business, maybe I know some businesses have where you have to donate your time to the community.
Right.
So if you're a particular business in the area, would love to have your business people come on down and help out for a day. But how specifically could they get a hold of you if they'd like to put together a team to help out with painting and or cleaning or moving furniture or whatever it might be?
Well, they can contact me. My phone number is on the Facebook page, the OVYN. I think
Yeah.
it's on there. They can also look me up personally, Paula Craig Stevens, on Facebook, and contact message me there. A lot of times I'm at the center first thing in the morning till afternoon. They can drop by and check on me there.
Sure. And also, you can call me, Bobbyjon Bauman, at 608-556-3068, and I can give you the contact information for Paula as well. The Sycamore Center is located at 301 North 4th Street, which is right across from the old convenience store that isn't running, but it's only a block from the high school, and also just right down the street, a block away from First Westminster Presbyterian Church. So it's a very central, beautiful location for students. Like I said, we probably have 300 to 400 students that walk by that center every day once they get out of
Yeah.
school. So that's the demographic or the individuals we're looking to reach.
Right.
Well, we only have about 30 seconds. So anything else you'd like to share in closing, Paula?
I just want to say I'm excited about the kids coming into the building and hanging out. We just want to live life with them. We just want to hang with them. We just want to be there for them. You know, give them a good place to be and be their friend. I just want to have a joyful environment for them to rest in for a bit before they have to head home. And know that they can always be there, and that will be there to be there with them.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much, Paula. You've just been dynamite today, and I really strongly encourage you to get a hold of your youth group or civic organization or whoever it might be, or even as individuals, and just give me a call or a Facebook message, Paula Stevens. If you'd like to set up a time where you can come and work and give back to the community. And so thank you so much for your time, and I hope everyone has a great day.